What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and take a look at this truss pile, because this is probably the oddest truss pile that I've ever seen on a post frame job site, and definitely the oddest one that I've ever attempted to install, which we will get into. But this is the plan. These are all the different trusses. But before we get into the install, I thought let's do something cool, let's do something different, and let's go take a look at the truss manufacturing plant and how these are exactly made. So we just made the quick drive up to Rockford, Illinois, where the truss manufacturer location is, which is Atlas Components. I've been buying trusses from Atlas for all of our post frames for years, and I know the lead designer, Carl, who has been building trusses for me even way back when I was doing residential construction. The crazy thing is I've never actually seen the process happen, so we're gonna come check out my trusses being made for my shop. So let's go inside and take a look at that process. So every truss that we get from Atlas is designed and engineered, and Carl is at the front of that. I've been working with Carl for years, like I said, and we spent a lot of time on my RRHQ truss design because it is so unique. So once the design has been finalized, then Carl's able to produce an actual cut sheet for the truss that is sent to the machines here on site that are pretty amazing. The one has multiple blades that makes all the cuts in one board at once. So the repetition and the efficiency is crazy, but then they've also got another machine that is able to do longer length cuts. It's just not as fast. And while these saws are making their cuts, they're also labeling and identifying the pieces, because then they're going to take all these pieces, load them up job by job, truss by truss onto carts that will then get sent over to the main table where the assembly takes place. Now, what's cool about the main table here is that the guys have their actual shop drawings, but then also you'll notice the TVs that have all the truss designs. They got, so you can visually see what is being produced. And the cart has all the pieces to the puzzle that just get put together. Now, since we are dealing with a wood product, wood is not always perfect in a sense that it's got curves and wanes and bows. So these guys are working hard, man. They are fitting this truss, the components of this truss, into very tight tolerances. And so they're definitely putting their work in, but once they get it all placed where they want it, they've got both pucks that come out of this table to go exactly where the pieces go, as well as they've got marks on the table that they use to line up some of the webbing. But once that's done, they've got, massive plates on these trusses to make sure that all the components stay together and obviously last the lifetime of the truss once installed. So once they have all those components placed, they're gonna run the preliminary roller over it to set those gusset plates into the lumber. And as you notice, sometimes those gusset plates are so big, this wood is so hard, they are physically having to hammer them in place as well before that roller goes over. So once that preliminary roller has done its job, they're gonna flip this truss off of the table onto a set of rollers that will take it to the final roller. And that final roller is a huge 24-inch double roller that's gonna just cement those gusset plates into that wood. And after that, it's gonna roll out to the shipping department where they will get stacked, loaded on a truck, and sent out to the job site. So that's it, guys. These are the trusses that are coming to my job site. This is the monster girder truss that we saw get built in on the big table. And they're gonna nail these together here because it's a 3-ply truss, and then this will be finished and it will go out to the truck to get delivered. So let's go ahead, head back to the job site and start installing some trusses. All right, guys, we're back on site now. We've got our trusses. We got the Magni fired up. More importantly, I've got my Magni remote control, and we're ready to put up some trusses. So let's go ahead and let's get flying some wood in the air. That sounded weird, Kyle, but I don't care. I'm just excited. Truss day is my favorite day. Let's just go ahead and let's put them right over here.
How far can this spin around?
I think it's a 360. I think it's forever.
Is it?
I think.
Is anything really forever?
Everything is forever. Look at that, dude. Zero clearance over there. Greg, let's just leave them stood up and pop right there.
And laying flat. Just let her down.
I am. I don't think it's gonna go anywhere, but we can always put one board on it just to be safe.
Okay, you like it?
Yeah. Yeah, man. The nice thing is when a truss is sitting upright, that's how it's supposed to sit. When it's laying on the ground too long, they can develop some waves just due to the natural, like, you know, settling of the wood. So it's nice if you can just store your trusses sitting up, but a lot of times we just don't have the ability because of how big they are. But these are the trusses we'll get to next. We're gonna start with the main center truss, which are like business as usual post frame trusses. So it's like a mini building, a 32-foot wide building in the middle of our 80-foot long building.
That might be rough.
Hold on, buddy. All right, now that we got down to the trusses that we're gonna start with, we need to get them all lined up. We get them all marked out for our purlin location, and then we can start slinging them. There's always prep work that's gotta be done, but if you don't do the prep work, you just end up stopping mid work and having to do it. So just get it all done and then we can get to work. So this end of the trusses, they are all spray painted red, which is, you know, designates an exact location that they go on the building. But also that's kind of the end that I like to always try to square up and straighten up. So what I'm gonna do is just throw these GRKs in to this bottom truss. And then hopefully just use the power of leverage to straighten them up fairly close. And then we'll have to do the same thing on the back. We'll get the backs kind of straightened up. That way when Greg goes and hammers the other end, you can kind of see that we got a little something going on in the middle. So that kind of pins this corner somewhat good, so Greg can then move his corner. Otherwise, you get like a seesaw effect. Wherever it's kind of grabbing, it'll just pivot.
Okay.
Pretty good?
Yeah, pretty close.
All right. Dude, they're pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we will mark the top one, or maybe we should mark the bottom and cut the top shy. All right, so we've got to set up our purlin locations on the tops of these guys, and we really do care about the exact placement of this because we are going to be sheathing this roof, so we need it to be accurate. It needs to be every 2 foot, and also we're trying to think about where our sheathing is going to end, our splices are going to be, so that we can be as most efficient with our sheathing, as well as have the proper ventilation up here for our ridge vent. And also we're trying to make sure that things are nice and square, so that when we go ahead and make our marks, which I'm not really sure how this makes any sense, Greg, because here I'm pretty square, but here I'm not. So we're gonna have to just make our marks and then make our, it's because this cop cord could be like this.
Right, exactly.
We can't do that. We're gonna have to
That's
just,
why you should not square it down.
yeah, I wasn't saying we're gonna square it down. I'm saying I'm just looking to line up and see which way we're going. We don't want our sheathing to end in the center of this guy 2 foot on center. So we need to extend up here. So if I'm 3 here, instead of 2'3", I'm actually going to go 2 foot. Does that make sense? And in essence, the center of...
Because then out here
I'll be 1 inch and 3/16, which will give me a 2.5 inch gap for ridge vent. So here's what I'm doing. This is my roof, and this is kind of extreme, but we measured down 3 inches, and that's where one of our purlins will go. So this is our 3 inch mark right here. When we do our stagger, we're gonna have another purlin that will drop down and be on the low side of that 3 inches. So what we did was we wanted to make sure that when we do our next purlin here, our sheathing is gonna come atop, and we want it to extend past this purlin so that this gap right here, which is going to be our ridge vent, is significant but not too big. We've made this mistake before where we came down the 4.5 inch that we typically do and then go every 2 foot. Then our sheathing ends here, and then our ridge cap barely fits over this hole. So that's what we're doing. This should give us about a 2.5 inch gap right here on our ridge vent if we did the math correct. And so this first purlin, instead of going 2 foot on center, we dropped it to the 1'9" on center, which should give us everything that we want. Right, Greg? Every 2 foot. All right, ready to fly the first truss. Exciting. I mean, not that this is anything new for us, but it is. We don't always have a Magni on site that we can do this sort of process with, which is nice because I will be able to guide this in instead of Greg having to be on the ground. Which actually, Greg, after this, you don't have to come back down if you don't want to. You'd be able to stay up there and.
I don't want to.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, isn't it?
I just want to stay up.
Greg's able to stay up there. Maybe I don't even need the big lift. You could have just done both sides. Got it. All right, get your screw gun. Anyway,
That's your screw gun.
Oh. I should be able to stay on the stick here, follow it in, and maybe I'll go up on the lift though, huh? Might as well.
Go up.
Nice pick, Kyle. That was $1 million pick right there, dude.
Think so?
I think so, yeah. Smooth. Good?
Yep.
So it's a fine line of dropping and also sucking it in.
Okay. Probably bring her my way. I think you're out pretty
Yeah,
far.
I know. I always alternate these suckers, so if I go here on this side, on the other side, I'll come in from right over here. Okay. Time to do another one. So that's gravel, which is about 1 foot low right there. I'm at a little bit of an angle, and we're sitting just below 26, which means when we come up 1 foot with our finished floor, we're gonna stay underneath our 25-foot restriction. So good job, I guess we did it. I was a little worried, dude. Even though it's very weird, we're starting in the middle of the building with these trusses. These are kind of like the stationary, like standard trusses. And this is basically a 32-foot building sitting in the middle. That's the way we're framing it. So I still have my line over on the edge that I'm lining up with this outside purlin, acting like it is an end truss. And then we'll basically do 2 bays, and then that'll be a 32-foot building when we're finished in the middle of the 80-foot building. All right, Greg, right there. So this is 3 out of 5 bars. The good thing is, Greg, we can go all the way up if we have to. So go ahead and spin it though. Yeah, there you go.
Still at 3 out of 5?
What?
Still at 3 out of 5?
3 out of 5?
Yeah, your bars.
Yeah, 3 out of 5.
Uh-oh. It's about that man basket.
Well, somebody got their drone stuck. We're boomed out all the way, and we're just a little bit shy. Well, the boom lift wasn't able to do it. The guy's only 46 feet. At least it didn't fall. I'd rather have it there than to have hit the tree and fallen down. Greg, how high are we?
What? 56.4.
That's it? Oh, we can go way higher.